Okay, howdy, comparative politics. I wanted to sneak in one more snippet about democracy before we move into chapter 6, which is non democracies. Um, and also, this will be something perhaps I can follow up on roughly 72 hours from now as the election has ended, or election day is over, and we can start to sort of try to make sense of what is no doubt going to be a pretty um, confusing situation. I don't think, um, well, I suppose we might have some kind of clear cut resolution um, on election night or the day after, but I think it's just as likely that we're going to have a fair amount of confusion and maybe even some chaos, unfortunately. So, let me go back to a point that I made earlier in this chapter, and that was um, why democracy. Made a short case for why democracy can be a good thing, why it can be better than other options. I mentioned the famines and wars. Democracies don't fight each other, and more relevant to this point, I think democracies don't experience famines. Why? Because ultimately leaders on some level are responsible to the people. Okay, so closely attached to this, and just the general idea that democracy works, is this idea that politics is a pendulum. In a democratic country, politics is a pendulum. It'll swing back and forth naturally. And here I got it going from, I think it's reverse on the screen. So let's say from the left to the right, and then back to the right again, and then back to the left. If any particular country's government in a healthy democracy gets too left wing, then eventually it's going to swing back. And at some point, it might become exceptionally right wing, at which point forces are going to push it back. Okay, so the ideal here is that concerns about the United States under Trump becoming an illiberal democracy are based on the idea that American democracy is deceptively weak. Maybe it's been weakened over time, or maybe it was never actually that strong. It's not strong enough to withstand the pressures that are being put on it by an authoritarian oriented president, a president who's actually interested in breaking norms to serve himself and those around him. Mostly just himself. That's the argument, right? And so there's evidence for that. You see that case being made quite a bit. You see the case of the Supreme Court being, you know, backed by conservatives over generations until now it's 6-3 conservatives. You see the case about the Attorney General essentially disobeying the law, disobeying norms, behaving as the president's personal attorney rather than the Attorney General of the United States. They're supposed to be, and traditionally there has been a very strict line there. That line has never been perfect, but there's supposed to be a line nonetheless that keeps attorneys general from just becoming a handmaiden to the president himself, herself in theory, right? Himself, historically. So you can find those arguments. I'm sympathetic with them. Not all of them. Certainly not the extreme ones, but I think that there's some very good points being made there. So what's the alternative to this? The alternative is that maybe the pendulum is real. Maybe the pendulum is not hopelessly broken. Maybe rather than being deceptively weak, maybe American democratic institutions are deceptively strong. And we're about to find out in an extremely important test taking place 48 hours from now. As I make this video, the polls in Virginia and several other states will be closing in roughly 51 hours. So it's just right around the corner. Is there evidence for this? I would argue yes, there's a lot of evidence for it, and it lies within the elections that we've been having since 2016. So the off-year election in 2017, the midterm election in 2018, the off-term election in 2019, several special elections here and there, and so far the polls leading up to this election. And what they all indicate is a massive, as they say in stock market terms, correction against this arguable right-wing excess, right? So what might happen on election night is the Democrats might win, as they did for the most part in 2018, and as they did on a smaller scale in 2017 and 2019. They might win big. They might win another late wave election. They might retake both houses of Congress. It may take a while to sort out all the details. It may take a while to make it through the courts. The Supreme Court might get involved. Who knows what the Supreme Court's going to rule? But the victory may be large enough that it'll be clear that Biden has won the presidency. The Democrats have retaken the Senate and have held the Congress and have won several made important gains in state legislatures around the country. That would be clear signs that rather than the pendulum being broken and swinging on forever and ever, it's reached its limit, and now it's naturally being pushed back by the forces, Democratic forces aligned against such Republican excess or control. And what we'll see here is what we saw in 2017, 2018, and 2019. So look for that as a possibility. And this is the key test. If that doesn't happen, then what we may be seeing is a broken pendulum. And hold that thought. We'll see to what extent this was correct or incorrect, and I can come back and address that and anything else of importance in another shortish snippet post-election. Other than that, the next videos you'll be getting will be on Chapter 6, which again is non-democracies. So if you haven't voted, get out there and do so, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.